Hi, welcome to the Warhammers. The Warhammer Skulls event is underway, and with it has come some brilliant 40k gaming announcements. For Darktide, we're finally seeing our first new class being added in the Arbites DLC. This comes fully with his companion, the vicious Cyber Mastiff. Not a lot is known about the class at the moment, but I wanted to take this time to speculate on what's coming and take a few educated guesses at what I think we'll see in the DLC. If you enjoy the video, hit the thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to catch more Warhammer content. For a quick side note for those who are interested, I actually play Arbites in Kill Team. I recently got into Kill Team and absolutely fell in love with the Arbites style of kit, the way they look, and more importantly, the fact they're totally not a rip-off from Judge Dredd. So for those who don't know what an Arbites is, I'm not going to go into the depth of the ins and outs of the lore behind them. In short, they're slightly bigger than local law enforcement, and instead they're kind of, I think it's the Lex Imperialis they're supposed to enforce. But we're not going to dive into all of that. For the basic knowledge, they're essentially like a souped-up space police. In the trailer, there are a few hints of what might be coming to the class. First off, we have a big part of the class identity. This is the Cyber Mastiff. It's not currently known how we would control this, if it's a tactical ability or some sort of passive squad mate the class gets access to, but I do know you'll be able to customise it. Fat Shark have mentioned this, I cannot wait. It will be cool to have some customization for the dog, just to make yours a little bit different from all the other Arbites who are going to be running around. It's going to be absolutely fantastic when the DLC launches. Having a look at the kind of other skill trees, normally the talent trees fall into three main roles. I imagine the Arbites will have one side focused on just buffing the dog, another one for close combat focused abilities, and lastly a support tree. I think every class has got some focus of support tree, but the real question is how the dog is going to function. Personally, I think it's going to take away your blitz. I don't think the Arbites will have any grenades. I think it's going to run very similar to how the Necromancer does in Vermintide 2. This essentially means I think the dog is actually going to be kind of a class that runs with you, and you're able to kind of pull out you as you were. I appreciate it's a little bit different. I think you'll probably end up pulling out like a leash and just giving the dog commands. So I think you'll be able to choose to attack certain enemies. You'll be able to defend either yourself or allies. What I'd love to see is an ability for the dog where when you can kind of cast a defend stance. And for those who haven't played Vermintide 2 and seen Necromancer, essentially you can kind of, again, I'm going from controller, it'd be left or right click if you had the kind of item out of you can choose to attack or choose to defend. Now, it'd be really handy to see whether actually if you get an ally who's downed, you could quickly summon the dog to tell them to go defend them, and it would clear the enemies around the downed ally. It might not be able to revive them, but if you can clear away those enemies, they 100% have a higher chance of surviving. So moving on from this, I think you'll pull out this leash and be able to kind of control where the dog goes like that. I don't think it's going to be like a one tactical LB press and that's it, the dog's then done, you don't see it for another 30 seconds. I think that would be a bit of disappointing use of the class. So I'm hoping that it functions similar to how the Necromancer does in Vermintide 2. It looks like the Cyber Mastiff is able to take down enemies, disable priority targets, and provide critical support for our strike team. But having a look at kind of the talents on this, I suppose the ones really for the dog would be focused on bleed. I have no doubt there'll be initially an ability you can use to upgrade. And this is the thing, the blitz could be down different sort of paths to kind of give your dog different abilities, whether it's bleed or a more support style thing, or like some passive defender where they will always run to the nearest downed ally to clear away enemies from them. And then probably last one about attacking distant enemies to kind of give you that cover. I think they'll potentially provide suppression to enemies you choose to target as well, so they'll try and run away. In terms of this, obviously, if the Arbites dog doesn't function like this might allow us to use different abilities. Now, I'm hoping it's not that one use of LB press and that's it, because I'd like to see the class have some different things. In terms of tactical abilities, what could the Arbites class have? Now, having a look at this, I think we're going to get a Nuncio Aquila, which is the Vox caster he's speaking to at the start of the trailer. Essentially, it's a massive loudspeaker with a massive golden eagle on the top. I also think he's going to get a Soul Guilt scanner. I imagine the Nuncio Aquila would kind of cast a wide suppression in a wide area, causing enemies to flee. So it'd be differentiated from the Zealot's kind of, idle blast by the fact that actually it causes enemies to run away from you rather than just kind of be passively scared where they are. And I think it would affect a wider area. But it also potentially provides buff to the team, similar to how the Veteran Shout works, but rather than toughness, potentially, regenerating everyone's stamina and being able to kind of move faster. For the Soul Guilt scanner, I think it's going to act very similar to, I suppose, how the Veteran activates his kind of ranged ability. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head now, where I think what it will do is passively mark enemies in a certain area, being like, these are the enemies who are within 10, 20 meters of you, kind of thing, and marks all enemies. I think you would then be able to specify into certain enemies to do more damage against that one type. Or I really like to see actually something where you kind of pull it out and you can scan a certain enemy to give them debuffs and your team more damage against them. So kind of like a pseudo veteran command shout, but something that kind of really scales. Once you've scanned an enemy, that's it. You know, it goes away for 30, 40 seconds and that enemy suddenly has a huge debuff against it. In terms of those other abilities, I think, you know, there's going to be those random ones that kind of go through, but we'll jump onto weapons now and we'll hop back to that in a sec. In terms of the weapons that we're going to be looking at, the first ones that can be found in the pictures and their dev blog is the Assault Shield and Dominator Maul. I hope the Dominator Maul works similar to the Shock Mauls, but it might just be there for batting enemies around. But interestingly enough, the Assault Shields can be also paired with the Arbites Shot Pistol. This is Darktide's first defense and range combo, and I think will add an interesting niche to the meta, where actually on high difficulty where ranged enemies can do a significant amount of damage, being able to peek them with a shield from behind the safety of a shield and stamina to then taking shots might actually kind of double down on taking some more stamina curios on your class rather than toughness. Also coming, which is in the trailer, is the Arbites Shotgun. They state it packs a unique punch with special issue ammunition. Hopefully this will sit in an in-between between the double-barreled and the combat shotguns. In terms of other things that I could see them getting, one quick one I just wanted to kind of point out is the Power Maul. The amount of times, you know, the Shock Maul's bigger brother, I unfortunately don't see that weapon used enough, because I think unfortunately it's the poor man's Thunderhammer. In terms of what else, unique weapons, again, we've been over in my what's coming in 2025 kind of predictions there, that the Scope Shot Pistol, I firmly believe this is going to be the third revolver mark that we don't currently have, and other classes will be able to access this. I can't imagine it being its own separate weapon, unless they particularly want it to be Arbites only. Other weapon in the trailer we can see is the Arbites Signature Shotgun. This, I'm sure, is going to be a different weapon to the current shotgun marks we have, because I think there's kind of in between where you have the double-barrel shotgun that can do fast damage really, really quickly. We have the combat shotguns that have a lot of magazine capacity and are effective at range. We have this no in-between ground, and I think its magazine's going to contain about 6 shells maximum, maybe 7. And I think it's going to be a hard-hitting, crowd-clearing shotgun, potentially with a different scoped kind of pattern. I could imagine it being wider than it is more vertical to kind of allow it to be a different style of gun. In terms of the special on it, I'm sure it's going to have the special loaded shells. Looking at Arbites kill team rules, they do have one of the abilities that allows them to load like armor-piercing shells, concussive shells, those sorts of things. Again, I hope they don't just carbon copy the ones from the combat shotguns, but again, I wouldn't be upset if they did. It would just be interesting to see. I think the more shotguns we'd have in the game, the better. I think currently they're in this weird kind of state with how the game codes shotgun damage, that they're not as satisfying as they could be. And I think the problem is we currently don't have a shotgun that, in my mind, is a horde clear weapon. I would love to be able to sit there and just hip fire into a horde with a shotgun. Not because it's like meta or anything like that, just because it'll be a bunch of fun. As for other class-specific weapons, one thing I like to see, and I have a feeling this could end up being a talent, is actually heavy weapons. The Arbites get access to a lot of interesting heavy weapons, these being the grenade launcher, heavy stubber, and Weber. Now for the grenade launcher, I could see that being a fantastic secondary weapon with low ammo, high damage capacity, because we don't have any sort of, I guess, launcher capacity in Darktide. Nothing like that kind of fills that niche role of explosives for the other classes. Now, I would imagine this would come hopefully with a crowd control variant and an armor piercing variant. One, so it just deals a carapace armor but does no damage to basic enemies, and then a crowd control variant that, yeah, I'd love to see a frag launcher, but I imagine we'll probably get one with concussive grenades in that just knocks everything about, which again would be an absolute fun fest. It's just a horde coming towards you, fire a few, and pop it up. However, one thing I would really like to see, the grenade launcher does come as a weapon in terms of its special attack. I think one thing I've been thinking about in my kind of spare time when playing Darktide and just trying to level some weapons is smoke grenades. Smoke grenades aren't used enough. Now, a variant with grenade launcher with smoke grenades in would make it a fantastic utility secondary weapon if it did, you know, direct hit damage as well, so it could still be used as a ranged weapon in a pinch. But I think potentially having the ability to use smokes in a weapon would make it a lot better in terms of maybe you load one special shell into it and you kind of fire the grenade and it's a smoke that clears a nice wide area for your team to allow them to move up. I'd love to see that. Or a flashbang grenade. I'd love it. We don't have anything like that. We've got the stun grenade, but I'd love to see one big bang that knocks enemies onto their feet and they're stunned. going from there, I think we might see the heavy stubber. I don't think that's going to come in the DLC though. I think that will be a later unlock down the line that we'll see in kind of one of their midway through where like, oh, we need to release some content, quickly pump out 3 more weapons. I think that's when we'll see the heavy stubber along with the hotshot volley guns coming out as well, similar to what the gunners use. And I don't think they'll be coming the Arbites DLC. I mean, I might be wrong. If they do, fantastic, because I think we've all been waiting for the point where the smaller guys can just mow down things similar to Ogrins. But lastly, I think the only weapon that could be added is the Weber. Now, this might end up, as I mentioned, like the grenade launcher, could be one of the Arbites tacticals, where you kind of catching a trapper in their own net would be hilarious. But I think the better way for this would be more of the case of it fires a web out, but the web doesn't capture individual enemies. It instead just hits a bunch of enemies, causing them to be stunned and maybe falling over while electrocuted. I think that would be a really, really fun, unique utility weapon of kind of when that moment's like, oh, I've got 7 rages running towards me. Quickly pull out your Weber, shoot a few nets out, and they're all stunned on the floor, you know, shocked, allowing you to get back to your team or finish them off. Now, I don't think we're really going to see any more weapons coming with this update. I think the Arbites class will have a few signature ones that I've kind of already mentioned, and this is just kind of running off what's in the kill team. In terms of cosmetics coming to the class, we already have the basic Arbites skin. I imagine the unlocks for the helmet are going to be pretty generic at the start. I think we're going to get the kind of helmet with a light on the side, the Voxcaster's helmet with microphone and antenna. I think we'll also get the kind of helmet with the open face plate as well, but I think that might just be one of the basic head customization options we'll get. I think we're going to get a Castigator skin, which, if you didn't know, yes, he is, I'm pretty sure, wearing a gimp suit. I think that is it. I mean, in honesty, it's just studded leather, is what it is, but there's definitely some kind of niche look there. That will be a skin. In terms of the other things I'd like to see, I would love to see the guy with the Salt Guilt scanner, his face mask with kind of 3 eyes, similar to what the sniper has in Space Marine 2. Lastly, I think the final kind of gold unlocks for the class, there'll be the hat with the bird and the hat with the other shaped bird, where they'll be straight into the side. I think those will be the purple and gold ones. In terms of body cosmetics, I think the basic ones are just going to be purity seals, extra bandolier, and then I think we might get some different armor sets. As I mentioned, the Castigator has special kind of sleeves and trousers on his, deliberately kind of with more spikes and studs. I have a feeling we'll see those too. There might also be a few armor sets with different sigils on. The Arbites do have like squad-based symbols of what their class does, and that'd be kind of cool to see as just a little customization, kind of like, you know, faction-focused thing. But there's not really much else to speculate on at the moment. This is just kind of me taking some educated guesses from the fact that I actually play the kill team and kind of have some knowledge around who the Arbites are. Fat Shark have said they'll look to announce more in the coming weeks, and I will try and cover that when they mention it. Just a quick reminder for the Darktide players, if you actually pop back into Darktide at the moment and participate in the Skulls event, interestingly enough, the final reward nets you 500 Aquillas, which is perfect if you've been looking to save up for a discounted weapon skin or just save it, hopefully, for one of the dog skins that's going to be coming out with the DLC. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to catch more Warhammer content. Let me know down in the comments below what you think the class is going to come with, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, let me know in the comments why. I'm personally really looking forward to the class, but time will tell if the Arbites is firstly any good, and secondly how it's going to shake up the meta. I'll catch you in the next one.